Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing this July the 7th, 2025, noontime daily cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold and silver bullion update after the holiday weekend that you've come to expect, love, need, and deserve with our movement that we're building and spreading and infiltrating. And you can help support the channel by hitting that bell notification, liking the channel, sharing it, comment down below, and subscribing to the channel, all for free. As we enter our stage and our decade plus long, and you're now joining me and our mission and you participating and becoming asset millionaires like it says there, and you can join Jabroni Killers and become an asset millionaire as low as $3.99 a month to help support the channel. You can just click that right there. And we invest in gold and silver bullion, and you can do that with my Robinhood link there. We're here to help you build real wealth through smart strategies and stocks, cryptocurrencies, gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, real estate, 401k steady investing is a key to help you maximize your investing and having another avenue and another asset at your disposal. And it's all right there. And I implore you to help support the channel. You can see the Bitcoin price is down 0.84%. It's slightly been bouncing to the negative today. Bitcoin dominance was up near, I believe, 70% dominance last week. And then it had a little bit of a sell-off. Bitcoin dominance, it got up to 66. No, it only got up to 66.12. And that's where the sell-off has been taking place. Ethereum's down 1.5%. Usually it's down more or higher depending on which way the price is going. XLM and XRP had a nice pump, and you can see the XLM price is getting up near now, catching up to where the XRP price is. You can see the XRP price, when we had that dip down about 2 weeks ago, it quickly came back above its 209 neckline support. XLM's was the 25.5 cents, and it took a little bit longer, but now it does look like it's doing that, what we were talking about last week. And we're going to get into that. But as we do know, we'd like to show some education and information and news around the crypto sphere and the markets, as this is Commodity Monday too. So we'll have a video on that later. I wanted to talk about what the MicroStrategies is doing, and companies that are leveraging and using borrowed money to leverage to make a play. And so far, MicroStrategies, as of July of 2025, has accumulated 226,331 Bitcoin at a 33,000 average price. So this one, obviously, it's saying current BTC price at 58 grand. So obviously this was a while ago. I believe their average price now is up about 60,000. You can see their value, 13.13 billion. If this isn't the most updated one, because they buy continuously, bear that for what it is. Total BTC and cost, 7.46 billion. Debt profile, MicroStrategies has taken on significant leverage, convertible notes, secured loans to fund BCTC, to fund Bitcoin buys. Some loans were paid off with Bitcoin profits, or refinanced, which means they're not paid off yet, they're just pushed down farther. But exposure to market volatility remains. Core business software, which it's not, it's a Bitcoin ETF essentially. And then I had the AI go through the models, and then, but what was more important after is these are the outcomes that it said: long-term payoff 65%, neutral outcome, no gain 20%, forced liquidation 10%, bankruptcy worst case 5%. So it's got a 45% chance of having no gain or bankruptcy or forced liquidation, right? So then I looked at historical companies going all in on a single volatile asset like Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is not the first company to heavily leverage into a single asset class, whether it's Bitcoin, real estate, commodities, or the tech sector. Historically, companies that bet the farm on a single volatile asset tend to fall into two broad categories: speculative all-in bets that paid off, rare. These companies made bold, concentrated bets that worked, usually in tech, biotech, or crypto bull cycles. Example, Tesla, brief Bitcoin play, bought 1.5 billion in 2021, sold at some profit, but didn't double down. Coinbase, a native crypto firm, rode the bull wave, but still sees huge revenue volatility. Binance FTX pre-collapse. Notice it was working pre-collapse. Aggressive play during the bull market, though FTX imploded due to fraud. Success rate roughly 10 to 20% when a company bets on a volatile asset and times it, right? So there's only about a 10 to 20% success rate there. That's very significant. And then if we look at companies that went all in and it crashed, much more common. Many companies that went all in on a single volatile asset or over leveraged themselves eventually went bankrupt or were absorbed. These include both crypto firms and non-crypto firms. Historical case of collapse: FTX 2022, massive leverage, speculation, fraud, bankruptcy. Voyager, Celsius, BlockFi 2022, overexposed to BTC, Ethereum price, plus liquid crunch, bankruptcy. Long-term capital management, 1998, massive leverage on bond arbitrage, required Fed bailout. Evergrande, 2021-2022, Chinese real estate firm loaded with debt on speculative land holding, insolvent, gone. Enron, 2001, over-leveraged, energy derivatives bets plus fraud equals collapse. Many of these firms had no diversified income, high leverage, and poor risk management, poor risk control, like what people fear with MicroStrategy. Success rate: avoid bankruptcy 25%, bankruptcies or major distress rate 60 to 75%, forced restructuring / asset sale rate 15 to 25%, bankruptcy, right? It's another fancy word for bankruptcy. So what does MicroStrategy sit? Our core business cash flow, check, still generates software income. BTC asset profitability in profit, currently $5 billion. Leverage level high, but managed, refinanced. Diversification low, almost entirely BTC. Liquidity risk, exit if BTC drops substantially, right? So that's very interesting. I just thought this was something just to get your brain thinking when you see things like MicroStrategy or going all in on something, and then put it into historical context with massive companies at 1 billion times more money in it than you're going to put in it, and see what history says. Do they usually play out? Is the gamble worth it, right? And history says it's probably not going to work out for you, but if you're the one lucky one, you'll make a ton of money. Outcome type: historical odds estimated. Long-term success like Tesla, 15%. Survival but underperformed, 25%. Forced to sell BTC, pivot, 30%. Bankruptcy or major collapse, 30%. Bottom line: historically, 70% of companies that go all in on a single speculative or volatile asset class either go bankrupt, are forced to liquidate, or underperform. Only 10 to 20% come out ahead, and often timing was everything. MicroStrategies has done better so far, but they're still walking a tightrope that very few have successfully crossed long term, right? So that's very interesting. I thought it'd be interesting to have you guys look at that and just to have a different point of view and seeing things from a different point of view, because I think things like that, the more education, something in the probabilities of going all in on an asset class you probably didn't know, and I feel the more you know, the heightened and the more success you can have. And it's all into our basket and how we trade and invest. And you can see the XLM price, now that we're getting into some of the coins, is back up here, right up against the 50-day moving average. We can delete that right there. Right up there against the 50-day moving average, just below the 100-day and 200-day, and just below the 25.5 critical cents. And it is coming back up like the XRP. And if it wants to pull the XRP, it gets back up on this 25 cents, and the 50-day continues to trickle and stagnate its way up, and eventually sits just on top of the 50-day right there, and the 200-day in blue and green. That should actually be a brighter blue right there with the blue and green. You want to sit up there, and that looks like what you're trying to do here is similar to what the XRP did. And you can see now we do have a nice regional double bottom. See that? And if this does hold out, that could be something where you would have to look out over the next month or two, maybe towards the end of this month, that we get up near the 38 cents in the XLM, right? If this gets rejected along the way, though, and ends up back below this 25 cents. When you're below the 25 cents, this is the target that comes as the next major move. We got to move that into the current price. But if you're above the 25 cents, your next major target becomes up into this range, the 36 to 35 cent, right? You start to target that range when you're above upper resistance. And right now you're attempting to get back above there. And later on today, we'll know, does it get rejected or does it get back above there and start to look like what XRP did, where you can see XRP is sitting now as the 200-day continues to trend up. The 50-day is threatening in a few days to have another bullish cross. You can see we've successfully been supported on the 50-day moving average where XLM is trying to get. And right now, as long as we're above the 50 and the 100, your next major move is up here to the 260 level, right? That's where your next major move brings you. If you slip the short-term moving averages and get back below it, your underneath major support is the 200-day moving average right there, and obviously the 209 neckline support. And that's what we're going to watch this week to see which way this goes. And you can see right now we're obviously pumping in the XRP price. We've pumped all weekend. We've got supported off this short term right there. You can see the major volume, and since we're above that now, it's starting to move at a more accelerated rate. And that's what we're going to continue to watch for the rest of this week. Does this continue to pump? Do we pump near the 255 level, or is this area right here that we've been talking about last week, this 240 to the range we're in now to the 228, going to reject it again like it did back here the last several times ever since late May that you've peeked your nose into there? You've gotten a harsh sell-off in an area where you're at now because of that candlestick right here. You see that sticking out? That's a major volume area where a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers, but when you're coming from below it, it's a lot of sellers. And you can see sellers, 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 sellers back into this area again, just as the underneath are buyers on support, buyers, 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 right? So we're going to be very interested to see how that plays out. We're going to pay attention for that. The same thing with the Ethereum price. You can see the Ethereum price is on top of the moving averages, and we need to get this into the daily to see and update these where they're at. You can see the 50-day is, or the 200-day is running parallel. The 50-day is running up and threatening a bullish cross, and the 100-day is trending up too. The price is sitting just on top of it, and we do know when you're on top of these two moving averages, this is your upside target where you're looking at $3,067.10, the bottom part of this green trading zone. But if you're below it and you slip below these moving averages, your underneath target becomes this when you're below those two moving averages. So it's very easy to tell if you're bullish or bearish. And right now you're above it, so you're going to be targeting $3,067. But if you, at any time you get forced back below these moving averages, then you would be looking at the $1,803.20. And you can see all three of the moving averages are right there in line. The Bitcoin price, you can see we're still trading sideways. We had that end of the week pump last week where we did make a new regional high in the last about 6 weeks. But you can see if we go back into, let's just update these real quick. You can see we got the 50. Come on, get out of there. We still don't want to buy. You notice how they put that there when it knows I'm clicking. So that way I'll click it. Come on. Let's move the 100-day right there. And then move the 200-day up. And you can see we're stagnating sideways after the end of the week pump. That actually has to be up a little more because we got supported off of the rising channel and the 100-day moving average. And right now you can see after the pump we had last week, you can see where the end of the week pump was, where we ended on Thursday going into the long holiday weekend, where it did have a slight sell-off over the weekend. Then it bounced back on Sunday yesterday. It's had a slight profit taking so far today, but volume and price movement, nothing out of the ordinary besides its normal jockeying around up and down throughout the day. If you're looking for something major to happen, it would be for this price to come down and retest this 50-day moving average in a regional double bottom, and that would be where a decision point would be made, whether we drop back down to the 101,233 and change, this uptrending rising channel that we've been in the Bitcoin price for about 2.5 years, and the 100-day moving average. Do we come down and retest that, or do the buyers come back in and we break this, breach the old high, regional high, crack the old all-time high that was made a couple of weeks ago and make a run up there towards the 147,000 and change. That is in play to come up there, and that's something that we're watching, because you can see what we essentially have with that mountain double top after COVID is essentially our turtle pattern. See that turtle pattern that we've made, but this is the longest turtle pattern that we've ever had, and it kind of looks like a conveyor belt, the turtle's head, and then they usually come down after they exhaust themselves back to where the pattern started, which would be around $24,000 to $30,000, right? Because the pattern started down here about 21,000 to 25,000. That's a technical target if they break to the downside, right? Because they are bullish continuation, but they usually, a channel breaks to the downside. That does not mean it has to happen. This market does irrational things, but that is something that we're watching, and that is something that we've been paying attention closely to, and we will continue to this week. Peace and love. The Rex Eyebrow J.